and good Thursday morning. And I believe we're going to have a very inspirational broadcast, much needed broadcast, I should say. We're going to have with us Cinthia Joy. And the topic is on forgiveness. And before we bring our guest on, I want you to think about something. How many times has a situation or an opportunity presented itself where there was an open door to forgive someone? And sometimes that's all we have, are opportunities in certain times in our lives when we can forgive. But do we become aware of those times? Or sometimes maybe fear or pride or anything of that nature gets in the way. But if we really understand the results of forgiveness, not only does it bring us closer to who our Father is, it brings more light to our hearts. So now let's bring on Cinthia Joy. We're looking forward to it. And once again, welcome, Cinthia.
Hi.
And how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. It was good to see you and Scott this morning.
Yeah.
Hey, Cinthia, why do you think that forgiveness is a topic that everyone on earth, human beings, should pay attention to?
That's a great question. Well, forgiveness leads to inner peace, and Jesus says, my peace I live with you, I leave with you. I find that often we don't know how to maintain peace in our lives, how to be at peace, and forgiveness is a big part of that.
Do you mind giving us a personal example? How has it played a role in your life?
Well, that's how, yes, I can. I was on a search for inner peace about in my early 40s. I'm now 47. And I became aware that every time I would talk to my family members or my father, I would hang up the phone and then I would get these waves of attack thoughts just coming, surging through my mind, and just all these childhood memories that would come back, and I would get angry, and I'd be angry for days, just a torment that would go on in my mind. So I became aware of that. I'd be triggered all the time. And I knew there was something there. I just didn't know what. At that point, I had done a lot of internal work. My parents came to visit one day after that, and I was sitting in a restaurant with my dad, and we talked for the very first time. We had never spoken about my upbringing, ever. And I told my dad face to face, I was scared to death, but I did it anyway. And I said, Dad, I said, I'm angry with you. I'm angry with you, and I don't want to be anymore. And I had a vision. I had a vision of a giant tree that was fallen and it was dead. And the roots, were coming out, dead roots. They were all uprooted, but there was one, just one that was green, and it was very alive, and it went all the way into my heart. And when I told my dad, I don't want to be angry with you anymore. I said, it was my prayer to God to say, I don't know what else to do. Like, I've done everything else. Like, I just don't know. And I didn't know it at the time that it was some sort of a prayer. But months went by. And I went for a ride with my husband. We were driving right here in Concord, where we live, right down the street. I was in the passenger seat, and my husband was in the driver's seat. And out of a sudden, just like that, my awareness just reached a whole new level. You know how they talk about in people that had NDEs, they'll say that everything is brighter, and they'll go to heaven and everything is bright, and the green is the grass is super green and shiny. And it was exactly like that. It was like if heaven had come down to earth, and my whole awareness was at a new level, and everything was shining. And I started to get cues like, and I'll tell you what they are. So a car drove by and the license plate said Chalet. And then I look over, and there's on the house, there's my home street address. When I was growing up, the house number was the same as my house number. So we drive down this road, and again, everything is shining, everything. The grass, the road, the houses, and there's this man. This man is stacking wood. He's an older gentleman, like my dad's age. And he's sparkling. There's sparkles all over him, and he's stacking wood. And we drove to the end of the street, and everything went back to normal. So there was no denying that God was talking to me. And I went home, and I realized that God was saying, Cinthia, you need to recreate your upbringing. Because the thing that my dad taught me, this was my dad. We went to our chalet every summer, every weekend, and we stacked wood. We worked really hard. I mean, from the age of 6 years old till I was 18, we spent our summers at the camp or the chalet, and we stacked wood. So I was like, that's a skill that my dad gave me, was hard work. The man I hated, because he's the man I had been hating my whole life. So at that moment, I started to bring up my childhood. And I was like, you know what? I would tell anyone that would listen to me the moment I had a memory or something would happen, and I would think about my childhood, and I would just come up with things that were good. Like we would be out in the woods, and I tell how we would be four-wheeling all weekends. And so I was rewiring my brain, was really what I was saying. I would tell the story of my sister. I have two older sisters, and my second oldest sister would put me to bed every night, and she would have me do my prayers. So I say this because we can get so stuck on our trauma, and God was telling me, Cinthia, look at the good. And by rewiring, by speaking it and thinking it, I rewired my brain. And this is what happened, Greg. So I started to practice, and I did that for a good 6 months. And then my dad calls. I get on the phone with my dad. Whew.
It's all right. It's all right.
I get on the phone. And this wave came surging from within me of love I've never felt. And I spoke to my dad, just a normal conversation, and all this love came out of me like just a wave. It was overwhelming, and it just flooded onto him and us. And I spiritually, in the spirit, I was like embracing him, and I felt so much love for him I'd never felt in my whole life. And I've been free ever since.
Wow. Sometimes
That's beautiful.
What you were sharing with us, Cinthia, what I picked up on, I was listening intently to your words, but what was the most powerful is when you couldn't talk, and when the emotions overwhelmed you, that was the most powerful for me anyways. The love that you allowed to be given and shown to your dad.
But the thing is that also I'm free, you know, like the Bible says, love your enemies, but we don't know how. You know, we honestly, I did not know how. I was a well-intended person. I prayed. The Catholic Church talks about going to confession. You go to confession, you do all those things, but I needed a step by step. Like I needed, like I have a course, and I had, because up to that point I had done steps to forgive. And I kind of cried out to God and I said, God, like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I've done everything I know. I've been practicing it, because the tree, all the roots were dead except one. And that was like the last one that needed to be cut and needed to be done. And so yeah, how about I let you take over? What else would you like to ask me?
Well, I'm still engaged in, I was going to say, in the lack of needing to express any words. Sometimes the power of silence is so powerful, words cannot match what we're really feeling in that moment. So what you represented, for me anyways, Cynthia, and I'm sure Rebecca and those who are listening, the love. Sometimes love doesn't need a voice.
Mm.
Love is the greatest thing in the Bible.
Yes.
It is the greatest.
Yep. Yep. So, Cynthia, this process of forgiveness, and when you were able to really forgive your dad, then what was your relationship like with God? Did it allow you to feel closer to God? How did it impact your relationship with God himself?
My relationship with God has been, well, are you talking about the church or are you talking about God? Because those are two different things.
I'm leaving the church out. This is personal. And the reason why I bring it up is God said, love our brothers and neighbors as ourselves.
Well,
But
that's
in that, yeah,
I'm sorry.
but in that, no problem. In that type of love, what's not being mentioned, he's involved in that. So did your love increase even more? When you love your dad, did you feel a more opening with the love that you had for Christ?
Well, I don't think that there was any changes there, but I do want to point out that, like you said, like love your neighbor as yourself. The thing is that most people don't know how to love themselves.
There it is.
You know, and forgiveness is a form of self-love. And I believe that God wants me to think well of myself. He wants me to be well. Like he loves us so much that he gave up his own son, not so that we live a miserable life. You know, I mean, he wants us to enjoy our life. And part of enjoying our life is forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. And it's to learn to love ourselves. And forgiveness is a form of self-love. When you forgive someone, you're saying that you have value. You're saying that your peace, God says, my peace I give to you. I don't know the scripture exactly, but he gives his peace to us. He wants us to have mental and physical peace, you know, and often we don't really know how to get there. We're so used to have our mind constantly going that we don't even know we're in torment most of the time, because people are constantly living in the past or in the future. Not a lot of people are present. And in the present is where you find peace and joy. And forgiveness is part of giving you that peace and joy. Forgiveness helps you let go of your thoughts of the past and not worry about the future. You know, so yeah.
Ooh. This topic is so worthy of attention that I'm going to take time to ask questions, because forgiveness, you mentioned, when we forgive, we really validate who we are in the spirit realm, who we really are. And without forgiveness, there's one thing for me anyways, that when I forgive, there is one advantage that I realize that happens to me. It allows me to open up my heart further. Because, when I don't forgive, my heart is hardened.
Yes, you're correct. The nice thing about forgiveness is it empowers you. You're like, you know what, if I can do this now, I can do this again. And it creates greater love on the inside of you, because the reason when someone attacks us, like with their, either they'll have an attitude or they'll just say something mean to us, what they're really saying underneath their attitude, underneath their behavior, where they're truly saying is, they say, will you love me? They're saying, you know what, my mama and my daddy, they didn't want me. I wasn't loved. Show me. They're saying, show me what love is.
Wow.
And that's being the greater person. They're saying, by their actions and behaviors and words, they're saying, I don't have it in me to be the greater person. Will you be the big guy? Will you be the bigger person? And that's forgiving their behavior and not taking it personally.
Wow. There's another part that I recognize, for me anyway, Cinthia, when I feel like I'm under attack. It tells me if I'm under attack and I am triggered, in that area where I'm triggered, I still need some healing. Because if I didn't need any healing there, I wouldn't take that attack personal. I wouldn't, because of love. So sometimes I look at it, wow, this person just attacked me. But in that attack, now I see the wounds that are still there from my past.
So let me ask you, can you be the adult for your child from your past? Because when we can be there for ourselves, so that means whatever it is that hurt you, that hurt that little boy inside you, that gives you the opportunity for you now, the adult, provide that need. So it could be comfort, it could be encouraging words, it could be protection. Now you can come through for you, because the adults in your life back then were not able to do that for you.
But I don't even think they were supposed to be there. You know why, Cinthia? No, this is just my journey. And I believe everyone has their own journey, but this is what I recognize. I believe the adults are there to really supply a safe space where I can come to them and share my thoughts and feelings, and they can validate those things. But sometimes life in general, we're going to have people outside of our intimate relationships, mom and dad, who are going to hurt us. And sometimes in that hurt, we don't even know how to present that to our parents. So sometimes, for me, sometimes my injuries were caused with things outside of my parents. And I had to realize the important role that Christ played, Jesus played, because he said, share with him your heavy burdens. And you mentioned earlier, a few moments ago, would I be able now to really bring that other side out, that forgiveness side? And I smiled. The answer is yes, because I did it this morning with my sister. So, and it was forgiveness. Didn't I, hon?
Yes, you did.
So it's perfect broadcast, because when you said it immediately, I could see the relationship that my sister and I had, and there were injuries there. I'm the oldest, and I believe at times, being the oldest, you think you're being treated differently, favor. But at the same time, the younger siblings, they feel in their minds that they may not be treated the same way. So it's the framework of, the order of being firstborn to lastborn, or in the middle. There's a whole different area of healing for each individual. And then when I started to recognize that, hold it, I still have things in me that needs to be healed. And there's one thing people, I think, should at least look at. I can't allow or make another person say I'm sorry. Even if someone wrongs me, I'm still responsible for the peace that I maintain. Whatever they do, even if they trigger me, even if I think I'm right, I'm still responsible for my peace. That's where I'm at now.
Yeah.
What's your thought, Cynthia?
I agree with you. And my thought reminds me of a story that an event that recently happened. It was, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago. I was dropping off my dogs at the groomer, and I crossed the street. I was walking. I walked to the groomer. So I was walking out the groomer, and I'm crossing the street, and I don't have a crosswalk. But anyway, I'm crossing the street, and this guy comes, and he's like, go ahead, So I start walking, so I look for this other car. Anyway, and they weren't fully stopped. So anyway, so the guy that let me go by then started to take off, and I was, like a foot from him. You know what I mean? So I got really upset with his driving. I'm like, you could have run me over, you dumb bleepity bleep, bleepity bleep.
Oh,
but
so you were speaking in Cynthia, you were speaking in tongues, you mean?
That's right. So anyway, so I cross over to the other side. This is something God's been dealing with me. And I was upset. And I said, no, I'm not going to hold on. In the past, this is what I would have done. I would have called my husband. You won't believe what just happened. This guy almost ran me over. Then I would have come home. Then I would have talked to him about more, and count how many people almost ran me over today. It's true. It's true. But God's been really dealing with me. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. And I started to speak at least 3 things I'm grateful for. And I didn't only say them, I took the time to feel them, because the power is in the feeling. And I kid you not, Greg, my joy came back just like that. I was like, I had never experienced that in my life. That was a first, because I was willing to let go of the stupidity that had just happened, because I have no control. I have no control of what other people do. I have no control over their driving. And I just said, you know what? I have a husband that loves me. I'm alive. The sun is out. I love my doggies, and I have a good life, and life is good, but I felt it in my heart, and my joy came back just like that.
Well, on another note, I expected it to come back because that's your last name.
Yeah. But joy is something that needs to be exercised, huh? It's not like it takes, you need to take steps. I'm a big, step-by-step kind of person, because I need a process to understand things and how to. I believe in prayer. I believe there's times where God answers our prayers. You can pray and ask for something, and he'll just give it to you just like that. I've had it happen. It's true. but there's times where you have to work at it,
That's right.
you know, and forgiveness has been one of them. And the nice thing is when you can forgive someone that has hurt you the way my dad hurt me, the rest is piece of cake. Like you can just forgive, you let go of stuff. Like it's easy. It becomes easy because people will hurt you. Hurting people hurt people, and we're all wounded in some ways.
That's right.
So it helps you shift your attention from the hurt to the good going on in your life. That's one thing I did also, was practicing gratitude, because gratitude grounds you. It brings you joy, and it helps you let go of the things that don't matter, and yeah, gratitude is a great ingredient. You want to add that to your day-to-day list. It will help you enjoy your life.
I think gratitude is so important, because instead of always wanting something, I could recognize the things that I already have that I should be grateful and thankful for.
Fred Luskin says happiness is being grateful for what you have, is wanting what you have. He says happiness is wanting what you have. Think about that. We're always wanting something we don't have. I'm going to get a bigger house. I'm going to get a nicer car, a newer car, more money, more this, more that. But happiness is wanting what you have. I just love those words.
Yes. Wow. Well, Cinthia, we have 3 minutes left. Is there anything you would like to share with the audience? Would you like to share do you have a channel? Do you have a website? How could people contact you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's ww.live, ww.live. I have a course coming up, a forgiveness course that I'm finishing. If anyone is interested, they can send me an email, and I'll put them on my waiting list. My email is Cinthia, spelled like my name, Cinthia @nuu.live, nuu.live.
Well, nuu.live.
Yes.
A minute left. What are your last words that you would like the listeners to hear?
Practice gratitude. Is the most beautiful gift you'll ever do for yourself. And gratitude is self-love. When you practice gratitude, you're saying you have worth. You're saying you want to be better. You're saying you want to enjoy your life, and you're investing in yourself. That's self-love. There you go.
That's a good. Boy, you did very good there, Cinthia.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. Yep. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg, for having me. Thank you, Rebecca. It was wonderful, and I would love to come again.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's see. Okay.